So we'll start with the easiest question I'm going to ask you. Your first and your last name and how to spell each.
Okay. First name is Keio, Keio. Last name Gamble, Gamble.
And you were friends with Officer Burks.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about how that relationship started.
I met him when he was second year at Paul Quinn. I was hanging around. I just graduated from Prairie View and was just visiting another HBCU because I had frat brothers up there that I would go see. And, he was a cool kid at the time, just a real good person. And, a little bit after that, he ended up in the fraternity. So that was when we really had a chance to connect. And, he's just been, that guy to me. I always tell people he's the only person I know that did everything right. He's the only person I know that did everything right. Now, that may be something he didn't do right. I don't know about it, and not many other people know about it. He was close. He was as close to perfect as you can get.
Yeah. You were telling me a little bit about his line name.
Yeah. So his line name is Pure Dog. He was given that name because at that time, and even still now, he didn't drink, didn't smoke, and never partook in the things that were premature, if you understand what I'm saying. He preserved his body, he worked on he was heavy into fitness, and he had a pure soul. Never seen him upset, never seen anybody upset with him, nothing remotely. He's everybody's friend, even if they're not a friend to him. And he's just, he's the best energy. Most people use the word vibe now. He's a vibe. He'll walk into a room, light the room up, and everybody's happy to see him. He was that guy. Yeah, he was definitely that guy.
Tell me a little bit about last night when you got the news.
I got a call from a relative that actually works for DPD, and they heard it over the radio, and they knew that he and I were close. So they gave me a heads up, what happened, and I immediately began to reach out to, some of our fraternity brothers that are really close to him and that can reach his family immediately. So we just kind of all got on the phone and made sure everybody knew what was going on, what had just happened, and we all met at Methodist and just kind of let it unfold. A lot of emotion, a lot of heartbreak, and to see it was hundreds of DPD officers there. A lot of us had never seen that before, and it was impressive. The support, the immediate support. It wasn't like hours later. It was immediate, and just the honor that they showed him, what they did for his mom and brought her in, and they had the honor guard there, and I mean it was awesome. The processional was long. It was I started to count the cars, but there was no way I could. It was just car after car, SUV after SUV, and they love him. They love him just as much as we do. And he has a huge impact on so many people.
Let's talk about that impact a little bit. I know, he had just become an officer, but he had been doing work in the community
for a
very long time.
Yes. He always heavy on community service. Social action was his thing. Then he started teaching, and I'm saying social action was his thing before he graduated. Paul Quinn, Paul Quinn had an environment that fostered that. So he was heavy and really, really active in that space. Then he became a teacher. He's a math major. He's a whiz. He tutors. I'm telling you, he's that guy, right? So he got to a point to where he felt like he could do more and wanted to do more and wanted to be on the front line. So that was his transition from teaching to becoming an officer. And, this is the neighborhood that he saw mostly because he went to Paul Quinn. So he wanted to make an immediate impact in this neighborhood.
What would you say is the impact of this community, of Dallas in general, losing him, both in his community roles, but also as an officer?
The DPD has lost a bright star. Our fraternity has lost a bright star. His family has lost a bright star. His friends. He was the shining light in every organization he was in. So the loss is heavy. The loss is monumental. They don't make many like him. You know, you hear people say 1 in a million. He's 1 in a billion. He's 1 in a trillion. They just don't come that way. Hell, I didn't come that way. I wish I did. You know, I'm older than he is, but I've always looked up to him. Always. You know, I was like, I wish I didn't do that, and I wish I did that. He's a great example. And if you go on social media, you'll see it. You'll see the impact. If you find his name on social media, you'll see the impact. It's huge. Yeah.
20 years plus of friendship.
Mm-hmm.
How is this impacting you? How is this sitting on you? Do you feel like you've kind of processed it yet? Do you feel like it's settled
I'm
in?
processing it in pieces. I'm crying off and on. You know, certain things will trigger it. I'll be okay in one space, and I was reading earlier on social media, and I thought I was okay. I was good, and I was actually on the phone with somebody, and I read a lady said he was a walking angel, and I lost it. I couldn't finish my phone call. I was a mess, you know. And then I gathered myself and was okay, and probably an hour later, you know, it happened again. Because it's the thoughts, you know, it's the reading what people have to say about it and knowing that it's true, you know, and you tie that with the memories, you know. He and I were what we call march masters in the fraternity. We're those number one guys when it comes to stepping, and he was always the guy I looked for. If it was an event, my job wasn't done until he and I got out there and did what we did. And I just hate, I won't see him in that capacity anymore, you know. We're losing a lot. You know, I tell people all the time, we had the conversation this morning, he belonged to a lot of people. He belonged to DPD. He belonged to Omega Psi Phi. He belonged to Paul Quinn. He belonged to Texas Can. He belonged to his family. Like, he was a whole lot of person and had enough heart and soul to give everybody. So a lot of people are going to miss him.
Tell me about the last interaction you had.
It was one of those moments. We were at an event, and it was almost like we didn't have to talk about it. We'd just look at each other. Like I said, I'm older now. My knees are not the best, and he's always in shape. He can go an hour long. I got about 4 or 5 minutes, and I would tell him, I got 2 minutes, but it's going to be the best 2 minutes I got. And, you know, we'd get out there, we'd kick, we'd spin, we'd do our thing. And I'd immediately break a sweat and say, okay, I'm done. And he'll keep going. And I just stand somewhere and watch him and look and be like, yep, he's still going. He was the Energizer Bunny. So, you know, that was always our interaction, you know, no matter where we were, no matter what clothes we had on, even in this suit. Yeah, when he and I connected in that space, you know, most people knew what that was. Yeah, so I'll always hold on to those memories.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to go back and find some video and some photos and look at those, because I know there's a lot of those, you know, a lot of those moments. So, yeah, so that was our last interaction.
And you mentioned his family. I know his mom. Was he married? Did he have children?
No, not. He never married.
Yeah.
He had no children.
Really was about the community.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely about the community, but he was waiting. He was disciplined, and he respected himself. You know, he wasn't all over the place. He was waiting for the right person. And that's one of the things that all of us admire about him the most. You know, all of us. We would just be like, we call him Black Jesus. Yeah. You know, somebody asked me if I had to compare him to somebody, then that's the comparison. Yeah.
And right now, not many details about what actually happened.
Right.
Someone walked up to the car and shot him and killed him.
Something like that, yeah.
But thinking that that's how he went out. How is that?
That's always hard to digest. The way we know him, he would have prayed for that man. I mean, he was never a judgmental person to that. He had discernment, but never judgmental. And he never met a stranger that he couldn't lend a hand to. So to hear how that went, I think that's one of the things that really hits the hardest with most of us, because he didn't have a mean streak. We know he didn't say anything out of line. We know there was nothing done wrong on his part. There's no way, never been. In the 23 years that I've known him, I've never seen it. That's just not him. So to know that somebody had an issue, a personal issue, maybe a mental issue, to do that is sad, and to snuff out one of the brightest lights we've ever seen is hard,
I feel like I'm missing anything. Do you want to add anything I didn't ask you?
No, I think we covered enough.
Can you tell me a little bit about the vigil? So it got moved. It was originally at
So,
Winners, and now it's here.
Originally, it was at Winners, and we'll still go back for kind of the part two. But there are so many people in Dallas that are affiliated with DPD, Texas Can, and like I said, he belongs to more than a smaller group or one group. So to have it here is inclusive, larger parking lot, larger space, and more people can come without it being too congested and becoming an issue. But we'll definitely go over to Winners. One of our frat brothers own Winners, so he's always opened that door. They came through in the same chapter, so that's kind of like their headquarters. So after everybody's here, it'll be a smaller, more intimate gathering at Winners.
Yeah. And then my last question is just like general question for, people watching this at home that may not be familiar with Omega Psi Phi,
right,
and not understand how Black sororities and fraternities are so close and all that.
Right.
How can you contextualize that so people really understand like how close the two of you all were and how close this fraternity was?
So, I mean, there are others who are way closer to him than I was. We were very close, but I'm not the closest. We have a unique bond in our fraternity, and friendship is essential to the soul. That's our motto, and we have a prescription for friendship that we abide by, that we follow, and when applied, you see that bond. So when people on the outside are looking at us and say, they're so tight, they're so close, we love what we see, there's a reason for that. There's a prescription there that says, these are the things, this is what it takes, this is what it costs to be a friend. And we implement that in our daily lives, we abide by that, and that's why the outside world sees the bond that some people don't understand. They don't understand why are they so close, why are they so this? Well, because we've been given a set of instructions on how to be friends to each other, and everybody can't be called a friend.